Are you a business owner, executive, or manager who can't afford to be making unnecessary mistakes or unforced errors right now? Maybe you ask for input from your trusted team members, but they feel more comfortable telling you what they think you want to hear, exaggerating good news and watering down, or maybe even covering up bad news as a means of career self-preservation. Maybe you even take the time to read bad reviews and surveys. Look, if you're wondering what you're missing and you've got the guts to handle the truth, as unpleasant as it may be, there's another option you might want to consider. And that's the topic of today's show. Hi, I'm Mason Duchatschek, and welcome to the Mason Duchatschek Show. In the 1991 film, The Super, starring Joe Pesci, it was inspired by real-life events, particularly involving a landlord named Morris Gross, according to IMDb. Gross was sentenced to live in a neglected apartment in one of his buildings after failing to correct over 400 housing code violations. It was a first-of-its-kind sentence in New York City. And in the film, the main character was sentenced to live under house arrest in one of his rundown apartments and function as the superintendent of the building. So basically, it made him a customer of his own property management company and a frontline employee at the same time. So there were some cool things that I learned from this. And I've always said that the price is never too high for people that don't have to pay it. The pain is never too great for the people that don't have to feel it. And the risk is never too great for the people whose necks aren't on the line. Look, I'm no judge, and I can't order business owners or executives to experience the pain of working the front lines or interacting with their companies in the role of a customer. But I can encourage it in the hopes that personal experiences might teach them more about how to better identify client needs and improve their customer experiences. Your customers, however, are both the judge and the jury, and they do have the power to sentence you to a lot of lost revenue if they decide to stop doing business with you and tell their friends, family members, and anyone on the internet who will listen. Remember, if you're the boss, there are a lot of people between you and the frontline employees dealing with your customers on a daily basis. And many of them, as a matter of self-preservation, have a vested interest in either keeping bad news from you or watering it down so much that it doesn't seem like they're responsible for messing anything up. On the other hand, some of the employees might not be responsible for messing anything up. Maybe it's your fault. I recently checked into a 4-star hotel in Las Vegas, and I like nice things and nice places, and I don't mind paying for additional services or being presented with options to do so. However, I don't expect to work hard to be a customer. I don't expect to be treated like a name or a number either. My Uber had just dropped me off, and I was standing at the front desk with all my luggage. And upon checking in, I was informed that there was a mandatory resort fee of $56, which the booking agent had not told me about. Out of curiosity, I asked, what's the resort fee cover? And I was told that it covered my phone in the room for local calls only, and the use of the gym, and the pool from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Look, it was 4:41 in the afternoon, so even though it was close to 100 degrees outside, the pool wasn't an option. Like most people, I carry a mobile phone and didn't need the one in the room. I'd already exercised for the day and had no need to use the gym either. The resort fee, I was reminded, was mandatory. Checkout was at 11 a.m. the next morning. So if I wanted to use the pool, I could only do so between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. because I would still need time to get up, get changed, pack my stuff, and check out. I felt like I was being manipulated, and I didn't like it one bit. My other choice was to find another hotel and haul all my stuff there. Plus, I'd have to spend time arguing with the booking agents about any non-refundable fees and what they did or didn't tell me. So at that point, all I really wanted to do was relax. And it was worth the $56 to not have to do all that. After navigating from my hotel room through the casino and to the pool, I met a security guard who required an ID in addition to my active room key before allowing me entry into the pool area. The security guard said that they had to have IDs because the pool was open to the public and there was a bar around the pool and nobody under 21 was allowed. Then the guard informed me that I had to go back to my room to get an ID. Otherwise, I would not be allowed to enter. It wasn't like I was trying to sneak in. I mean, I was a registered guest with an active and valid room key. Plus, when I checked in, they required a valid ID to keep on record. It wasn't like I was underage and was trying to buy alcohol or drinks at the bar either. Look, I have a son that's 26, and while I like to think that I look young, I know I will never pass for under 21 ever again. So no use of common sense, no respect for my time. And I'm thinking that I paid $56 extra for this. Look, there were several other unpleasant and unnecessary aspects involved in this particular stay. And suffice it to say that their policies created unnecessary work, expenses, and hassles. Collectively, I felt like an unwelcome guest who also got hustled out of 56 bucks. As a general rule, I know managers and supervisors can't fix problems they don't know about, and I try to give them the benefit of the doubt, suggestions, and opportunities to fix things. I'm not one to just run to the internet and give bad reviews that can affect businesses and the livelihood of employees who work there unless it's absolutely necessary in a buyer beware kind of situation created by indifference, competence, or total disregard for the customer. I went and I asked for the general manager, who wasn't available. The supervisor in charge volunteered to come out and ask what she could do to help. I explained that I was not asking for special treatment and wanted nothing from her other than to offer my feedback in the hopes that others wouldn't feel the same way I did because of avoidable and easily fixable policies, rules, and procedures that left a bad taste in my mouth. I explained that the easy way for me to handle this was just to write a review exposing their shortcomings, but I'd rather just give her a heads up and encourage her management team to fix it for future guests. Look, I didn't want to cause permanent consequences for this business when the problems were easily fixable. I explained the other areas during my short stay where basic courtesy and customer service failures occurred as a result of their procedures and customer unfriendly policies. She was not empowered or authorized by corporate leaders to fix any of it. And I appreciated her candor and her honesty. She looked at me and she said the best thing I could do would be to write a harsh, honest, and well-deserved review because all those decisions that led to my experience were made way above her head. And she'd never met those corporate people, even though she'd been working there for years. And at this particular 4-star hotel, it was obvious that the corporate leaders, they do pay attention to bad reviews, and that's why she encouraged me to write one up. Think about it. An honest employee urged a customer to write a bad review that potential customers would see, knowing full well that it would hurt their business, all because those in upper management don't listen to employees or interact with customers or visit their properties as customers. Corporate thought that they knew what was going on by reading reviews, studying spreadsheets, and talking amongst themselves. Maybe their corporate leaders do learn from the bad reviews they read. Perhaps they could also learn even more from all the people who had bad experiences, but didn't bother writing reviews because of the time and effort that it was required to write them. Look, I think it is a mistake to treat customers like unpaid quality control personnel. The customer doesn't owe you feedback. It's your job to find out what's working, what isn't, and why. If you are a business owner or leader and you really want to earn the respect of your staff, the appreciation of your customers, and discover the true impact of the ideas and policies born in your boardroom, then I have a challenge for you. And unlike the main character in the movie, The Super, you don't need a judge to order you to do what should be obvious. All it takes is the willingness and guts to put yourself on the front lines and get out of your office. So it's a 2-step process. Step 1 is to work some shifts on the front lines where you can experience the backlash of unhappy customers against any silly policies you and your executive teams have created. Step 2 is to be a guest or customer and see what it feels like to be on the other end of what you currently think are your good policies and procedures. Once you feel the pain of being a frontline employee and a customer, you'll get a real valuable education on what your company needs to fix and why it's important to do so quickly. You'll get insights and ideas that you never would have gotten otherwise. Granted, experience is a tough teacher, but the lessons you learn will last. Feel the pain, pay the price, take the time. If you don't, you'll never know what opportunities for improvement you're missing. At this point, you might be thinking that because you aren't getting a bunch of complaints or bad reviews, that you're doing a great job. And what I'm suggesting is unnecessary. And you might be wrong about that too. Here's why. Let me share a quick story to illustrate. So I moved to a new state and had to find a new primary care physician. When I first arrived at the doctor's office, I was encouraged by the nice ladies at the front desk to download and register for their app so that I could get messages and instructions from my new medical team and review test results whenever they were ready. I was told that I would get an email link with the instructions and that it would be easy. It never came. I called and was told to talk to people at the front desk when I came for my follow-up appointment. I did, and as usual, they were very nice. However, I needed to sign up for a new app and system, and unfortunately, they didn't know how it worked. So they gave me a number that I could call when I got home. Well, to make a long story short, I ended up spending about an hour speaking with 6 or 7 different people, none of whom gave me the same instructions. The last one just suggested that I may have done everything correctly, but their system could take a few days to properly populate. I checked back the next day, and magically, it was working. I felt pretty lucky because none of the people I spoke with knew anything for sure. They were all guessing, all of them. And when I got a quality control survey from the hospital, I gave them an honest review. I praised the medical staff for their excellent work and professionalism. I also described their huge waste of time and frustration associated with their supposedly easy-to-use app, which absolutely wasn't easy to use. To my surprise, I got an email reply apologizing that their service, and I quote, didn't meet my expectations, as if it was my expectations that might be the problem instead of their terrible new app rollout plan. As a bonus, the person who sent me the mail just gave me her name and number and offered to listen if there was anything else I needed to add. I appreciated the gesture and I took her up on the offer. 18 minutes on the phone, I was able to reach her. To make sure things were not a problem related to my expectations, I asked her how long it should have taken and how many people that I should have had to speak with to get my app activated properly. She said I should have only had to speak with one person. It should only taken a few minutes. Then we agreed that it wasn't me having to waste me having to waste an hour talking to 7 different people didn't meet their expectations either. She was very nice, polite, and apologetic, but before continuing our conversation, I asked her if she had the ability, authority, or responsibility to make the necessary changes to workflows, policies, or training that would prevent other patients from the same crummy experience I had. She said no. Her role was just information gathering to report it to the executive leadership team that was supposed to prevent and or handle these kinds of issues. Again, no pain is too great for the people who never feel it. These executives were obviously clueless. They weren't the ones feeling the pain of their ineffectiveness. The other patients and I were. The employees on the front lines dealing with all the unhappy patients were too. The lady and I visited for about how the executive team didn't seem too concerned because, well, they hadn't been getting many, if any, complaints, as if the absence of complaints meant that patients were happy and they were doing a good job. Based on firsthand experience, I knew this wasn't the case. After wasting an hour dealing with untrained people and systems that weren't ready for release, I was willing to invest another 18 minutes to get her on the phone. And maybe, just maybe, that is why they didn't get many, if any, complaints. It wasn't because the patient experience was good. It was because the barriers in place to insulate the executives from the criticism of their work were so cumbersome and time-consuming for patients that I suspect most of them just gave up. She had a hard job. And I know it's hard to explain to executives who actually are responsible why they aren't doing a good job, especially when there aren't many, if any, complaints. I suggested that these executives pretend to be new patients and also get their children or parents who didn't know the ins and outs of their system they created to call and try to accomplish what I did. If they did that, then they would get plenty of helpful feedback. I would like to think that there are plenty of executives who have the guts and care enough about their clients to experience their organization's customer service or lack thereof for themselves. Sadly, many don't. Don't be like them. Do better. I hope the ideas and concepts I share today make your business, you, and the team around you better. And if you feel they did, I want to invite you to tune in regularly. Spread the word, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel and my blog at workforcealchemy.com. You can also apply for free to take the Workforce Alchemy Challenge and access additional tools and training that can help you improve your job security, earn faster promotions, and get bigger raises. The tools and training are all about helping your company select, engage, and retain the most talented people. More specifically, I'm talking about giving you access to skill, attitude, and personality-based assessment tools built by world-class industrial psychologists and street-smart, proven training on how to use the data they provide to make better decisions faster. This leads to things like lower turnover costs, lower labor costs, and better quality work accomplished without adding unnecessary staff. When you've got the right people in the right places, they're empowered and doing what they do best and like to do most. You end up with a culture lacking the kind of unnecessary drama and conflict that kills productivity and drives good people away. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.